old saying among sports writers, no cheering in the press box. The implicit message is that you're not supposed to get emotionally invested in who wins and loses. But for one Red Sox reporter, keeping such objectivity might be a problem. To call Jenny Dell a reporter is to acknowledge how vague that term is. Yes, Dell covers the Red Sox for NESN.
The second walk-off in as many nights. Take us through that ninth inning.
But Dell has a penchant for lighter fare, from conducting with Keith Lockhart.
3, 4, 1, 2. You're a ringer. You've done this before, haven't you?
To having her running form evaluated on camera.
You know, what muscles are tight, what muscles are weak, what things aren't working properly.
Still, Dell now finds herself embroiled in a journalistic controversy after going public about her relationship with one of the players she covers, Sox third baseman Will Middlebrooks.
Well, what does it mean to you to be able to share this honor with Mike?
Dell's relationship with Middlebrooks is raising eyebrows. Boston Magazine has taken note, and Abby Chin, who covers the Celtics for Comcast Sportsnet, hinted that she thinks Dell's relationship is problematic.
I think as a woman in this business, we are constantly climbing a uphill battle when it comes to credibility. And so even the slightest nick in your armor, I think, could have a much larger effect.
WEEI's Kirk Minahan agrees, saying there's no way NESN's coverage of the Red Sox can be taken seriously if Dell is allowed to return to that position. Perhaps. But since the Sox and NESN have the same owner, their Sox coverage already comes with an asterisk. Well, this is going to surprise all of you. I have no problem with this. I mean, she works for NESN, and she's a sports recorder, not a sports reporter. You know, there's no such thing as criticizing the Red Sox. There's no such thing as criticizing any of the players. There's no such thing as criticizing a call. Nothing. You don't do it if you work for NESN because they are owned by the Fenway Group, which also owns the Red Sox. So she's just a face out there. I mean, I know she says she's a reporter, but same with Abby Chin. It's a little different. She works for Comcast, and she covers the Celtics. It's completely different. She is a reporter. You know, it's just completely different.
But the issue is that she calls herself a reporter, so that's one thing. And there is a conflict of interest. And I don't watch this stuff, but if I do, as a viewer, I want to know you're living with the guy.
Well, she tweeted it out, so now you do know.
Well, now I know, but I didn't know all the other times while she's saying, oh, Will, well, what do you think? I need to know at that moment. I am in the house with Will. Come on. This is ridiculous.
You're absolutely right. The disclosure is, I think, imperative.
That's
and I think that if there was a charade that this wasn't going on for a longer period of time, I think that would be a very legitimate complaint. I tend to agree with Emily that no one expects deep investigative reporting from that position, right? I mean, you saw that someone in that role is already part of the ballpark entertainment. It's their post-game interviews are broadcast on the speakers in the stadium. It's already part of that complex. And I don't see how bias in this direction is going to be any stronger than the fact that the same person is signing the paychecks in the grand scheme of things on everyone on the Red Sox and everyone at NESN. I do think it's interesting, though, to think about how differently we would think about this if this were a Boston Globe reporter. But the ownership issues are the same, but the expectations are so different for that than for a Boston Globe reporter than they would be for someone who's a NESN sideline reporter. But it's interesting to think about because the same sort of ownership issues come into play.
But it's not, because with NESN, she's literally part of the team.
She is. I
mean, you're not just reporting to John Henry. You're part of the Red Sox. Now, I think that it would be better if the Red Sox sideline reporter were not going out with one of the players. I think that would be
going out. She's living with him. But let's be clear.
But it's not a big deal. She's not a reporter. She's not a journalist. She's pretty good. If she was working for somebody else, she probably could be a reporter and a journalist. But as long as she's working for NESN, she's an entertainer.
Now, I do think NESN has the obligation to say something about this. We inquired about it today. They've had absolutely no comment whatsoever. Even if to say they don't see a conflict, but they should say something.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the fact that they don't see a conflict says that she isn't a reporter no matter what she tells Boston Magazine, because we had this conversation before the show. When Gail Huff was in Boston, a reporter for Channel 5, her husband Scott Brown was running for the United States Senate. Of course, she couldn't be doing stories that had anything at all to do with his future as a senator. When she went to Washington when he won, she couldn't do politics at all. So if NESN considered her a reporter, she wouldn't be covering the Red Sox anymore. Obviously, they don't. She's a beautiful young woman, and she may be great. I have no idea because I never watched I never watched I'm not big into the
It's a
sports
limited
on TV.
role.
I watch it.
So, I mean, I think she just is like a cheerleader almost with a microphone. And I just think she needs to get her role straight. She's not a journalist. She's a cheerleader.
A recorder, I
And if she's
a recorder of events.
If you're looking at it as a total entertainment thing, and if she's a cheerleader and she's part of the team and all of that, then they're missing out on a whole host of other kind of stories. Will and I at home. Will and I cook together. What Will tells me about, there's a whole...
Are you proposing reality programming for NESN?
There is some
if
history.
you're going to do it,
that poor Fox reporter out in L.A. was dating Derek Lowe, and Fox ended up firing her because she was dating somebody that she was supposed to be covering.
But did they know? I mean, that's the thing about it.
Well, Derek Lowe was married at the time.
Well,
that made
true,
But also, let's know, before we get on too many high horses, let's note that Andrea Mitchell was married to the head of the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
If you go to Washington, the marriages between various people who are covering politics and people who work in government, that to me is
a good point.
that's far more offensive, and we let that go on.
Well, no, that has to be disclosed as well, though. But you're right. But it has to be disclosed. That's the point.
All right.